So what is context switching? I've used that term a few times. When you get in the zone, and the zone is this idea where I'm sure you've experienced it, where you're doing something and you're focusing on it so hard and so intently that everything else kind of goes away, and you don't notice that there's other people in the room. You don't notice that there's anything going on. Just like the time goes away. You look up and it's like, oh my gosh, I skipped lunch. I didn't even realize I skipped lunch. That's being in the zone, or what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book called Flow, calls flow. That's the idea. When you get in that flow, you are hyper productive. You are much more productive than just your day-to-day, every moment productivity. And when you switch out of that mode, there's a period. Think of it as a crossfade between two pictures, like on a in a movie. This scene has to end, and this scene has to start, and it's that crossfade time that is, it's neither one nor the other. So you're context switching, and that's the lost time. And when you really get into flow, it takes a little bit. You have to get your mind going and it's like starting a locomotive, right? Got to get the wheels going and get the wheels going, and then eventually they start going, and the momentum of the locomotive keeps it going as much as the energy of the locomotive keeps it going. But to begin with, there's a lot of work involved. So that's important to note here. All right, next slide. So if it is only 20%, and I'm lowballing, it is only 20% lost, and I'm optimistic about this, then here, this chart shows you your loss for every additional project. So if you're at work and your boss says, and you're doing 2 projects right now, you can conclusively say 20% of my time, Mr. or Mrs. Boss, is lost, is context switching lost time. I just moving from this project to that project, and it's lost time. Now that's not including the time that you spend doing other things, like going to meetings and updating your TPS form, doing time sheets and whatever other, all staff meetings, miscellaneous stuff, all the stuff that you have to do in a job. This is just the work. So 20% is lost. So that means you're really only able to give 40% or 40%. So when someone says you're 50% on each of these projects, baloney, you are 40% on each of these projects, because 20% is lost. Now they say, oh, can you take a minute and work on this 3rd project, please? Okay, now you've lost another 20%, not of the whole. So you can see the math that doesn't work out that it's a whole nother 20%, but it's 20% of the 20% of the, it's 20% of the 80% that was left there. So I didn't overshoot this. I didn't say, oh, another 20% of the whole. No, but you still then only have, what is that, about 22% per project. So you've gone from 40% per project to 22% per project, not 33% per project like they think you're doing, 22%, 21%, something like that. When you start to grasp this, the concept of multitasking becomes so absurd. The time waste is ridiculous. And I will be willing to bet that most of you are not on 2 or 3 projects. You're on 4, 5, or 6 projects at work. And if you are on 4, 5, or 6 projects at work, you are missing like 50, 60, 70% of your time is in tasks switching back and forth, 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 because people are tapping on your shoulder and asking you a question. And can you answer this over here? Can you answer that over there? Can you help me with this and help me with that and help me with this? Now, that's pushing it to an extreme, I know, because on a typical day, you will probably only work on 3 or 4 projects at a time. But still, 3 or 4 projects at a time is still the loss of 30 to 50% of your productivity. And that's just complete waste. If I could go to, if you're a CEO and I could tell you, I can guarantee you 30 to 50% improvement in productivity in your organization immediately, one day, immediately, would you take it? Would you take a 30 to 50% improvement? And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You just need to think of it as a crossfade between two pictures.
Focus on one thing
in a movie. One thing at a time. This scene has to end, and this scene has to start.
Hey, this is Joseph
and
I hope you've been enjoying watching these videos that I've been sharing.
Neither
about
one nor the other.
Strategies
so your context
make
switching,
your business
and that's
more effective, more efficient, and less stressful. If these are the kinds of things that you think are really going to move the needle for you, then I'd like to tell you a little bit about my private mastermind group. I keep these groups particularly small, and I try to keep them of like-minded individuals. In this group, we'll be taking these same kinds of strategies and tactics that we're talking about, and we'll be applying them specifically to your context. So it's not the esoteric idea of what does this look like, it's how does this specifically happen in my organization. The groups are kept to about 10 individuals per group, and I only do a few groups a year. But one of the things that I've also found is, I did a survey recently and found that the #1 complaint that entrepreneurs have about the entrepreneurial lifestyle,
only 20% lost, and I'm optimistic about
somebody else to talk to. And
then
that's
here,
thing
this
that
chart shows you your loss
mastermind groups
for every additional project. So if you're at work and your boss says, and you're doing 2 projects right now,
not the one
you
person.
can conclusively say
you're interested in. There's a button right below me
20%
here
of my
you can,
time,
click the button, and
Mr. or Mrs. Boss,
connect you with me. We'll get some information,
lost.
and
is context
if it seems like it might be a good fit,
time.
then we can get on the phone and
just
talk about it.
Moving
we'll
from
see
this
if you're
project
fit
to
the
that
groups
project,
that we have right
and
now.
it's lost time.
And if you are, then you can join the group, and it'll be great. The way these groups work is we get together on a regular basis, usually twice a month, and we talk together about a specific topic. So it's not just an open-ended, hey, whatever's going on, mastermind. It's really a very directed group of conversations that are happening, so that everyone can be kind of on the same rhythm.
Only able to give 40% or 40%. So when someone says you're 50% on each of these projects, baloney, you are 40% on each of these projects. 20% is lost. Now, they say, oh, can you take a minute and work on this third project, please?
But at the end of each of the meetings,
you've lost
we do
another
go over,
20%.
okay, what exactly is it that you're going to implement in the next period,
doesn't
so
work out that
that
it's a whole nother 20%, but it's 20% of the 20%
organization.
Of the, it's 20%
in addition
of
to that,
the
I give you my
80%
personal cell phone number
that was left there.
So I didn't
small,
so I can do
overshoot this. I didn't say, oh,
personal cell phone number, so that if you run into a problem during the
you still then only have, what is that, about
22%
we
can
per
talk it
project
and figure out
so
exactly
you've gone
what
from
it looks like
40% per project to
to
22% per project.
So if that
not
sounds
33%
like something
per
you'd be
project,
interested in, just
they
go ahead
think
and
you're
click
doing
the button down
22%.
below. We'll set up a time to have a conversation, talk about it. If it
when
feels
you start
right,
to grasp
then
this, the
you can
concept
join one of the groups. If you're watching this, it means
so
there's probably
absurd.
an opening in one of the groups, because I wouldn't be running these if I didn't still have openings in groups. And if you're watching this, it's probably pretty likely that you're a fit for that group, because you've been watching my videos and learning the techniques and ideas that I've been talking about. So we kind of align. Until then, click the button below, get in touch with me. I hope you enjoy putting these tactics, strategies into practice, into your business, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.